In this lesson, our objective is to be able to understand and be able to multiply fractions with fractions using an area model. So let's take a look at this problem right here. We have 1/3 of 1/2. And I can think of this as I'm taking 1/3 of a half of something. Maybe that something's a brownie. Maybe my friend came up and he says, I'm going to eat 1/3 of your half of a brownie. And that's important to think about what these numbers mean sometimes because that helps us when we do an area model. Here I have a rectangle down here, and I'm going to start by showing my 1/2. This is where it's helpful to think about like the brownie problem because I can think this is where I'm starting. I'm starting with that 1/2 of a brownie. So that's what I'm going to show down here. So let me show this right here. This whole thing is one whole. And I'm going to start off by showing my half. So I'm just going to cut it vertically right down the middle there. And now I have 1/2. And I have another 1/2 over here. So this would be, if this were a whole brownie, that's what I'd be, but I only have half of it. So I'm going to shade in, using a colored pencil, 1/2. There's my half that I have right here. This is my starting point, my of 1/2. And I'm going to take 1/3 of that half. So I'm actually just going to go through and horizontally break this same whole into 3 pieces, into thirds. So over here, here's a third. Right here. Here's another third. And here's another third. But I don't want just 1/2. I don't want 1/3 of the whole. I want 1/3 of just the half. So if I had to look at this, here's my half again, and I'm going to take 1/3 of that. That's this section right here. I'm going to go ahead and shade in that 1/3 there. And I shaded that 1/3 of that entire piece. But again, I'm only looking, I want just that 1/3 of that 1/2. And I'm noticing, hey, I used the blue and the yellow. I end up with green right there. It kind of shows me that's my piece that I had there. That's that 1/3 of that 1/2. And I'm noticing that my entire whole, though, has been broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So each one of these sections is worth 1/6. And I want just that 1/3 of that 1/2, which is this piece right here, and that is 1/6 of my entire whole. So 1/3 of 1/2 is equal to 1/6. Interesting. My fraction's getting smaller than what I started with. Let's take a look at another one. It's a very similar problem, but it's flipped around. Here we have 1/2 of 1/3. So my starting point, again, is going to be over here because I'm taking 1/2 of this piece. So this is my starting point right here. Here's my area again. I have my rectangle or my square. So I'm going to show thirds now. I'm going to break this one into 3 pieces. So here's 1/3. I have another 1/3. And I have another 1/3. All together, I have one whole. So I start off with a whole and I break it to show where I'm starting from. In this case, thirds. And I just need one of those thirds, so I'm going to shade in one of those thirds. Now that I have my 1/3, I want to take a half of it. So I'm going to look at this same whole again, but I'm going to, instead of breaking it vertically, I'm going to break it horizontally. So I'm going to show my halves this way. So here's a half, and here's a half. And I want just one of those halves. So I'm going to go in and shade in that half. And I'm noticing that where I cross over with my blue, it's again turning into kind of a green color. And so again, I want to look back at my problem. I have one half of 1/3. So here is my 1/3, and here is half of it. Well, I want to know how much it was of my entire starting piece of my whole. Here's my whole, and I see that my whole has now been broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, similar to what we saw above. And I have 1/2 of that 1/3, which is this section right here. So 1/2 of 1/3 is also 1/6. So I'm seeing that regardless of which way I take it, I end up with 1/6. But my starting point and what I do and how I do it is different depending on whether I start with 1/3 or whether I start with 1/2.